Welcome everyone, and good morning, good afternoon. Sorry for a few minutes delay. That was my fault, nobody else's. But now I think we have the right PowerPoint on the screen, and with me I have actually we're 5 on the call here, so I'm not sure how we're gonna be able to cover only everything we're gonna speak about in 1 hour. But let's see how it goes. With me today, for and foremost, we have Kent Mogensen. From the Albertslund Municipality or Commune. A warm welcome, Kent, and thanks for joining. Would you like just to give a short introduction?
Sure, and thank you for being here, Peter. And hi, everybody. Well, I'm Kent, and I'm head of IT in Albertslund Municipality, and we are going to talk a bit about how we are using Citrix Analytics in our daily day and what we are going to get out of it. So. Please feel free to ask questions, and we are pretty dynamic, so go for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks, Kent. And so we brought 2 of our product managers to this call today because Citrix Analytics, which is the topic of this session, is actually combined into 2 different, or divided into 2 different parts. So Vijay, you're covering one part. Why don't you go and start introducing yourself first?
Thank you, Peter. So hello, everyone. My name is Vijay Nagarajan. I'm a product manager who looks after the Citrix Analytics for performance, which helps you understand your user experience as well as session experience and machine health of your Citrix Workspace estate.
Thank you. And Abhinava, you're on the security part of things, right?
Yep. Hello, everyone. I'm Abhi, and I'm the lead on Security Analytics Product Management. Nice to meet you all.
Welcome. And there won't be a tech talk with some technical people from the field. So Neil, you're kind of one of the SEs, one of the principal SEs in Northern Europe, and you have quite exposure to analytics among some of your customers. So I would consider you a little bit of an SME, I think, on analytics. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I've done quite a few projects with analytics over the last year or so, and been really involved in delivering some of our trials and through into production environments. My background is previously working as an engineer and an architect for large enterprise customers, and my day job today is really working with those large enterprise customers, advising on the Citrix solutions. And yeah, we've seen a lot of interest in analytics and a lot of success when we've done proof of concepts into production environments.
Yeah, great to have you joining. And as Kent was kind of saying, this is a tech talk, right? We're not allowed to read PowerPoint slides, but rather have a conversation. So this is a live event. We would very much like your questions, but technically also with the platform, and it kind of makes easiest sense if there's a lot of people joining. Any question, just type them in the questions field, and we will try to either take them right away or at the end of the session. And if for whatever reason we might have time, we will follow up and answer the question on the email follow-up as we would normally do. So Tech Talk is not to just sell our solution, it's really to explain how these solutions work and have conversations around Citrix technology. So with that said, I think the way we're going to do this is we're going to have an introduction from you, Vijay, a little bit about the analytics. I also want Abhinava to talk a little bit about some of the new stuff and what's going on security, because to me, this is an area where Citrix have had maybe most progress in recent years. There's been a lot of development on this solution. And I think that's also one of the benefits of being a cloud service solution, even though we have support for on-prem and all that stuff. So, and then we get to Kent and Neil for some real, how it works in the real world. But Vijay, to your point then, people on this call are reasonably skilled on CVAD, been working with Director and Studio for years, maybe even Resource Manager, if they're old like me, or Ed Site, right? So, yeah, and those were super. Like I really like them because I'm passionate about user experience. That's kind of where I the way we deliver them and make people choose when, where, and how to work. So why would they get excited about analytics, and what's really the customer impact would you say? I think I'll send it off to you and off you go, and please take it away on analytics.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. That's a great question. So, and we get asked that a lot, right? What is Citrix Analytics? Is it a new name for an existing product that Citrix sometimes does, or is it a new product with a new name? And thankfully, it is a new product with a new name. So I don't have keyboard. Oh, yeah. So what Citrix Analytics does, unlike the products that you just mentioned, Director so Director, while it may give you insights into your VDA infrastructure, user sessions, etc., it does not give the complete picture. And for that, you may now, for example, for your network latencies, you may have to log in into your Citrix gateway as ADM console, for example. Or if you are using our content collaboration suite, then neither of the two solutions will have information about how usage is happening on the content collaboration front, or what's happening on those files and data sharing. So things exist in silos. What Citrix Analytics does is give you a complete picture across your landscape, across the workspace, and all the utilities that are and the value that you derive from Citrix. And more than that, not just get the data in one place, because of the fact that we have built it as a modern data platform, it allows us to get data which is not possible with, let's say, a Director, for example, right? We all know the pains that Director and you have to endure with Directors, unfortunately, to tune the database and keep it up and running. Since we're not going with a database-based architecture and more of a big data platform, we can get zillions of data points streamed to us in a second, which is not possible in Director. So hence, new unique data as well, which is not possible with that old architecture, is also possible through the analytics. So providing you a complete view. Yeah, what makes Citrix Analytics unique is, like you're mentioning, unlike the other products that we may have, it is instantly usable. So you can go to cloud.com or your Citrix Cloud Console and request for a trial right now and get started. You don't need to install any agents, unlike certain breaches that have happened in the past where agent-based solutions have got hacked, and then you need to now secure agents as well. We are not trying to add more work to the already labored IT admins workload. So it works without agents. It's instant. You have to just onboard the Citrix solutions. If they are on the cloud, we automatically detect them. It's flipping a switch. If it's not on the cloud, then you need to bring guide us to it, and the data starts flowing. And no agents or no management of agents, securing of agents required. Apart from the data, like you said, it's built as a big data platform, so we can get AI ML models running on the data, get you insights of what's happening. So if there are risks, there are threats, or there are issues with your platform, like there are certain machines that are not performing, or there are certain anomalous activities, let's say with latency, which we have not seen before happening. Usually we see somebody from Australia log into your servers and it takes this much time, this much latency. Things seem to be off today. Those kind of things we can pick up because of our AI/ML capabilities. And finally, like we touched upon, it's a cloud-based product. So even if you are based on the on-prem, or you're using our Citrix Cloud or using a public cloud, the service is continuously developing and improving. And as probably Kent might touch upon later, we can continue to hear your feedback and making improvements and getting new data points in, getting more improvements in, and the ML models that we talked about, right? We can keep building new ML structures and models to address the problems that you face, so that whatever checklist or task that you have to unfortunately or fortunately go through, we can help reduce that burden and make it easier for you and make it better, a bang for buck. Now, Citrix Analytics is broken into two solutions. The Security Analytics, which provides a zero trust approach to securing their workspace, and Performance Analytics, which I'll talk about, which provides the insights and recommendations on user experience. You can buy these separately as add-ons.
Sorry.
Okay. So you can buy these separately as add-ons, or both of them as a bundle. Or if you go for the newly christened Citrix DAS's top-end model, the Premium Plus, you get both of these offerings as part of the equation.
Yeah.
Now, coming to Performance Analytics, like I said, it does complete monitoring of your Citrix stack, everything from your delivery groups, your network, to your VDA infrastructure, to logon. And unlike other products or other things where you may have to have 16 different dashboards open or 27 different metrics you're trying to look at and trying to see, is everything okay? This is green, that is orange, this is red. What does that mean in totality? We try to compress that into a single metric called user experience and tell you with using our big data capacity that things are looking great or bad, and then you can drill down to the exact reason why things are good or bad.
So Vijay, I just
go
had
ahead,
a quick one. I think you touched on this actually. So one of the questions was, what kind of investment in implementation is needed? Since it's just a cloud service when you point the connectors, right? So it's actually not necessarily the connector. I think it's actually the CVAD DDC that you actually point to the cloud. I think this is specifically even for an on-prem implementation, to your point. There's no agent installation, there's no changes. You have to be at the kind of a 1912 type level, but otherwise than that, it's the port opening up to our cloud service pretty much. Would you say that's accurate?
And that's correct. That's correct, Peter. So there is no agent-based approach. So your existing solution, assuming that storefront or CVAD or gateway that you're using on-prem, it's to open it up to push data to the cloud, to the Citrix Analytics in the cloud, and that's about it.
Cool.
And then,
thank you.
And then for the next 13 months, you can have all the data in the cloud, go back to any point in time in last 13 months and see how things were and generate reports.
Got it. Thank you.
Great question. So going back to performance analytics, like I said, our core compass is that we solve all of these major metrics, 27, 30 odd metrics. No need to look at all of them. We compress it into scores. So in this case, for example, we are seeing that there are 53 users who are having bad experience as opposed to 64 who are having good or excellent service. Now, if you want to understand what exactly is wrong with that, with those 53, we break that down into the composites. It's telling you that, hey, these many users had problems because of latency or session responsiveness. These many with availability, log on, were certain machines overloaded due to which they had bad experience, and finally resiliency. As you can see, there are numbers don't necessarily add up because sometimes there are multiple issues at play. You have high logon duration as well as high latency. So a double whammy or a triple whammy sometimes, and you can expand on all of those to find out the answer. So if you can expand further, you can get information of how people are affected, and more important than that, as you can see on the sides, we even provide insights. Like for example, group policy objects. These group policy objects seem to be, taking more time when we're looking at, people who are having bad experience. So maybe these are things you may want to consider to optimize. So the product breaks it down to where the problems may be emanating, and also gives you recommendations where possible. On the infra side, we also tell you how many machines are up and running at any time, right? That's very important. And also you can go back to trace any point in history, let's say a week from ago, a month ago, to see at that point in time when an outage or an incident or something gets recorded, how many machines were up and running and what were their states at, right? So we all aspire to have 99.99 and other SLAs. So those can be easily captured and tracked and try to understand what's going wrong. And more importantly, as you can see, we show the machine number of machines available with your session information, so you can quickly gauge if capacity is getting overrun. So if you're seeing that machine usage is plateaued or peaking, and still you're seeing session failures, probably you need to add a few more machines to the pool, or vice versa. And like I said, we don't just sit on our laurels waiting for you to expand. We also show insights then and there on the product, like I'm showing on the right-hand screen. So the ML algorithm keeps reading through the data and finds out things it sees that are of issues. So for example, black hole machines, that is, machines which are look to be active, but for whatever reason, continuously all sessions requests to them are failing. So sometimes this happens when Windows or an application crashes. Those kind of things get detected. Zombie sessions where people disconnect, but the machine still thinks you are active and is booting out new requests, or overloaded machines and communication issues. All of those the ML algorithm and the AI basically keeps churning in the background and pops up to you rather than wait. No need for you to actually dig down. We bring this up to your notice and into your, more importantly, into your inbox as well. So you can set up alert policies to have this in your inbox as well. And the best part is, graphs and dashboards are all great, but the real power lies in the data, right? So as you can see, could you go back, Peter?
Yeah, sure. There you go.
Yeah. So the real power lies in the data. So you can see the amount of rich data that we show you. And some of the ones that I've highlighted is what we have newly added is the bandwidth related information. So for example, if you have customers complaining that Citrix is not working, you can quickly go see their score and see, more importantly, what was the bandwidth that they were running. So, in this case, for example, right, this person has around 10 or 11 megabits internet pipeline, but only 232 bits were being provided to Citrix Workspace app. The rest of it, maybe, Netflix is using in the background, we don't know. But either which way, it seems like a client-side problem. And you can drill down further and look at this data and search for this data and export this data. But you can also drill down further so that when users complain that things are not working array, you can see the entire history of that session. So things were working great till noon. Then the Citrix started becoming sluggy and sluggish, etc. You can pinpoint and say what was happening at that time. You can see what was their Wi-Fi signal strength at that time, what was their bandwidth at that time. All of this to help you rule out whether it was a server-side problem or it was a client-side problem. Those tickets that come and in those inordinate hours and eat your time, those are things of the past with Citrix Analytics for Performance. And similarly, if you're using some of our other products like the gateway service, we have the ability to show, for the gateway connectors, what is the current status and utilization, as well as in tech preview, we have the ability to show the latency as well, so that you can understand what is the latency from each various POPs and adjust them if required. Next slide. Yeah, and similarly, like we said, we can search for session information. You can search for machine information as well. Find out what is the average consumption of memory, CPU, etc. And much like sessions, you can again drill down deep into that, see exactly what was the CPU utilization, how was it, what were the top processes that were running when there was a CPU or memory spike, and gauge what was going wrong. So is your antivirus hogging, suddenly too much CPU or memory? All of those can be easily deduced from the tool by you can go granular and go big wide side. And finally, when you have done all that, you find out the problem. You need to take actions, and you can take actions right from the analytics console itself. We don't. We provide things like composite action, where things like getting people out of the machine, logging them off, and then restarting. All of that can be automated and done from analytics in one shot. So making it your troubleshooting hub and optimization hub for all of your needs. I'll leave the slide here. This basically tries to capture all the value props that we have in analytics. I would say to yourself, like I said, it's a cloud-based product. Go sign up for a trial on Citrix Cloud Console. Try it for yourself. Like I said, there is no agents involved. So within minutes, you can be up and running. If you're a cloud customer, it's literally within seconds. It will, if you're using all of the cloud components, it's literally within seconds. It auto detects. You have to just say on. That's the only thing you have to do for the data sources. If you're using on-prem though, it takes a few minutes for you to connect and send the data to Citrix Analytics, and no other hassles required. And you can see the features that we have listed on the screen in action, much like how Kent and others will illustrate earlier. So that's it from me. If there are any questions, I'll pause, or else.
Thank you.
The
Vijay.
security honcho, Abhinav, is next.
Yeah, no, just a quick one. There are two questions. One was, back in the days, we sometimes struggle getting access to, let's say, C-level for that SLA report. Do we have like an RBAC so that you can kind of allow users to, somebody who's not so technical, to actually get a high-level insight of that report? Or how do we get that to the, let's say, an owner of an application or an owner of a solution?
So yeah, we use Cloud IAM for RBAC. So you can have a reader role and a full admin role. So you can give a reader role for those who just need to read read the information. Apart from that, we also allow you to export the data as a CSV or in Excel format. So many times, for example, for the C-suite, let's face it, you need to beautify the results, right? So you can export it into Excel, use Power BI, Tableau, whatever is the fanciest tool at our hand, and make it nice and beautiful, and then present saying that we achieved SLAs and SLOs 3 months in a row.
Yeah, but I think also if you find a report, you can actually pass it on as well, like a scheduled email going out. So
yes, you can also set that up.
Kind of get that 5 minutes before the review meeting. Okay, one final question, because I like the name. There's a black hole and there's zombie sessions. So I think that's an important one, because those black hole VDAs are super hard to find. And once they get there, load balancing, because the machine often has lower load, puts new user there. So I know this is definitely something. I just want to mention, could you talk a little bit very quickly about what that is?
Sure. So black hole VDAs are essentially VDAs which are to the broker and to the rest of the load balancing ecosystem look like active machines, actually active VDAs, but something has gone wonky in the Windows bits or the application, something has crashed. So when they redirect users to set up sessions on that machine, they continuously fail. So like you're saying, to the system, it seems like, hey, this machine is active, it has no sessions on it, let me send users that way. But everybody who tries to connect to that machine will always continue to fail again and again, because something in Windows or application has crashed. And the zombie session is the opposite. So this is in the case of single session OS machines, for example, where a user is connected to the VDA and doing a desktop session, then for whatever reason, let's say, gets disconnected and does not gracefully disconnect the Citrix session, the VDA thinks that the session is still active and running. So when the same user tries to reconnect back to his VDA, he'll say, no, there's an existing session already running, I can't connect you back. Right.
Those are good. All right. Super. No, I think they're really useful, because those are hard to get in a large environment. Those are hard to get. True. All right. I thank you for that. And let's move on to Abhinava on the security front. I think you have a mouse control if you want, Abhinava. Otherwise, I'll lead on it. There we go.
Yep. Okay. And thank you, Vijay. I think you spoke about the analytics platform as a whole, and the basic premise stays the same, because we are brothers in arms. So the ML platform, the data source, the ease of setting it up, all applies to us as well. And while Vijay and performance team is focused on helping uncover the user experience and productivity challenges on the Citrix infrastructure, I'm looking at making things a little bit more secure and ensuring that the Citrix Workspace, apps and desktop and DaaS infrastructure is being used in the right way. And our thought process is to provide you zero trust and seamless security across these products. So what we're looking at, various dimensions such as users, apps, OS clients, etc. And across the events that are coming through from all these, we are trying to provide you user behavioral insights, or UEBA, across analysis of these entities. We correlate data from all these multiple data sources. So if you're CVAD, great. If you're a Workspace app with secure Workspace access customer, great. If you're using secure browser, great. So doesn't matter where the products are, what your spread is, we get events from all of those, and you just have to sort of single click through all those data sources and events start trickling in. So that's very easy to set up. And for somebody like Albertslund Kommune and customers who have a smaller admin base and who are stretched thin, who are looking on both infra and security sides, this works well. But if you are a large customer, we still cater to you, where we not only help you provide all these insights, but also write sort of actions and remediations on them. So our active endeavor is to get you through this closed looping of actions across all sorts of insights and risks on these infrastructures. Now, I'll basically walk you through some of the use cases and talk you through, right? So when you're looking at compromised users, as you can see here, right, we're going through the devices, locations, even IP reputation to uncover a user's risk. So while on performance side, you get a performance user experience score, on our side, we'll give you a user's riskiness score. And using that quantification, you can easily identify from your large number of users spread. Doesn't matter if you're 500 or 5,000 or 50,000. We'll uncover the top most risky users for you, and you'll see these insights. So for example, in the COVID-19 pandemic situation where most of the employees were remotely based, the risk of bad actors gaining access to corporate resources because you're using your own devices, sometimes corporate devices are being used in home networks and so on and so forth. So you'll always be able to get authentication patterns such as this. And there's a host of other authentication patterns that we look at, like unusual authentication failures and so on and so forth. Is it working? Yeah. Another use case is impossible travel, right? So suddenly you have a user in a globally scattered infrastructure popping in from, let's say, France, and then within minutes there's another authentication login from some of the blacklist countries according to your government norms. You wouldn't want that, and this service will provide you alerts and controls for such a scenario. We have very rich employee access data, right from their accesses from clients such as Workspace, ShareFile, or their SaaS logins from software web gateways such as NetScaler. So with access assurance, we've gone a little further, uncovered the location network risks for you. And what we are also endeavoring to do further is to uncover it at a subnet and IP level. What we will be able to provide you is where your users are accessing. Is those are private IPs or public IPs sitting behind some CASBs such as Zscaler, and those IPs are hidden. Or sometimes some of your employees who are enjoying the infrastructure to use Tor networks for some downloads, illicit downloads, you may actually open your network to malicious domains, and it can bring in ransomware and malware. So access assurance provides you just that. And of late, most of our customers have used this to secure from geopolitical conflicts and danger areas where some of the employees are either in the risky zones and they need to be sort of brought out into secure environments, or their accesses are coming from risky zones or conflict zones, and not just employee safety is paramount, but also the infrastructure with it. So you will be able to get those, and you can set up right geofences to understand where the accesses are coming from. So with security analytics, you'll be able to achieve that fairly simply. We look at all the products and share file and content collaboration is quite close to data exfiltration. So what we do here is we've uncovered with all the risky share behavior where your content is moving. And you also provide the engagement with those content shares, right? And with the right sort of risky, sensitive files, you'll be able to pair them up with right actions, such as locking the user out of their content collaboration account, reducing their access and such kind of privileges. So data and insights hand in hand with actions. Another one that we just recently sort of did was, for us, riskiness of the user is in the usage patterns, right? So if, okay, it's not moving ahead. Yeah, now there it is. So if the user is bringing in a lot of malware in the content collaboration environment, One, quarantining, controlling the file content is very important. We have actions for those. But at the same time, we attribute this user risk. Somebody who's actually sharing malicious Office files with macros or malwares, that risk should be attributed so that the threat hunting team, the infra security team, can actually look into it and take further actions. And the interesting part is you'll not only be able to control their content infrastructure or content collaboration, but also cascade that back to other Citrix infrastructure, perhaps log them on gateway, or even take their privileges from virtual desktop. So these kind of actions continue. We need to go back. Yeah. All right. So I have a lot of customers come to me and say that, it's great that you've aggregated this data, but what is not great is you uncover all their PIIs. Now my threat hunter knows what's his username, where he is residing, and all those correlated data points. So can you help me secure this and roll it out so that I'm not in conflict with GDPR compliance, data control laws, and also some of the Worker Council norms? I am not able to move this product forward because users' PII are not anonymized. So with anonymization, we've provided a complete workflow. You get to obfuscate the username, but still continue your threat hunting. All your rules, policies, risks will continue to bubble up. And if you happen to be in a situation where the risky user needs to be, a rap on the knuckles, or perhaps the supervisory manager needs to know who's doing what, then as a threat hunter, you have the data control workflow where you can request resolution of this anonymized data through proper audit, reasoning, approval and rejection reasoning, which gets audited and instated in the system. Once that is resolved, you can complete your workflows, take actions, and after that, it again gets re-anonymized. So your privacy is protected, but not, but you don't have any restrictions on your threat hunting. So this workflow is coming close. It's available perhaps by the end of this month. Do take advantage of this.
Very good.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Somehow, one click doesn't do it, and 2 clicks takes me 2 forward.
Yeah, it's my special PowerPoint to just mess around with your presentation. Apologizing for that.
All right. So what I skimmed through was we generate a lot of insights, right? And to build trust in the admin, like there's no secret guy sitting and creating these insights and dumping in the database. There is a full-powered machine learning algorithm at work here, right? But sometimes these algorithms go haywire, and we love to get some admin feedback, right? So the threat hunting team now can provide some feedback using our admin feedback mechanism. And they can, okay. Oh, where has it gone? It's going forward. I needed to go backward.
Okay, sorry. I will help you. I can lead. I don't know what's going on, but okay. Are you at that one? The CVAP dynamic session recording? Yeah, got it.
No. Go one step back, please.
There you go. Admin feedback.
What's a webinar with faux-pas on the slides? So this is the admin feedback that we are bringing in, and interestingly, we'll tie it into like admin lists as well, where you can actually create exception lists, like, hey, these IPs are all right, these devices are all right, and so on. Next slide, please. On the another important feature that we're bringing in, right? For you, the forensics and incident response will also be important, right? So if a user goes, an insider or a rogue employee goes berserk and hurts your, leaks out your data, brings in some malware, or just, rogue employee behavior of stealing data and things like that, session recording is an ideal substitute for you. It's part of your DaaS Premium Plus package as well, cloud-based service, single-click enablement. With this, you'll not only be able to record the session, but play back in context of a risk. And it also gives you a lot of process and system related insights as well. So this is that we've brought in. Next slide, please. So out-of-box risk templates, go ahead, set them up, single click. It will give you a pre-formatted query, tweak the thresholds, and get up and running on your security system. So you can bring in a lot of use cases. And what we see in other customers, we curate them and bring it out. So let's sort of crowdsource use cases on our data that you can also bring in as a value in your systems. Next slide, please. This is our better together conversation with Workspace clients, right? So we are going to provide you some action interfaces, feedback loops, which admins can set up. And then when a suspicious logon happens or a problem scenario happens, a pushback notification apart from on email can also go on their Workspace clients or on mobile device clients, where users can take action. So this works great if you want to protect your account and say, hey, this suspicious logon was not me. Or if a user is using unsanctioned app and you want to sort of discipline them and get them to upgrade their app. So we're working on these Workspace app level integrations with the Citrix Security Analytics. Next slide, please. All right. So with SIM, you must have noticed in your environments too, right? Like Kent is here, right? He's part of the infrastructure team. But often security teams use security operations tools, such as event management tool, SIM, Splunks, Microsoft Sentinel, logarithms, etc. And then there are SOARs and other automation frameworks. So we are very much focused on our security ops and threat hunting persona also. So while we're making it easy for infra admin to get simple security use cases across the CIVAD data, we're also helping you get these insights, get these alerts, get these events out into a SIM infrastructure. And what we have done is we've made it easy for you to get it on Splunk, Microsoft Sentinel, etc. But at the same time, we made it generic. Our Kafka-based mechanism can integrate with almost all the SIM environments. So you can get this data flowing in and out, and then with our insights, you can build ready dashboards. But if you want to play with the raw data and make your own things going on, you can do that as well. So we are very much focused, and on path further, we're going to bring in some SOAR integrations for actions, etc., so that the closed looping of actions can take up from the security ops tool also for incident responses and such like that. Next slide, please.
Yes, there we go.
So this is what is our Microsoft integration. So we've actually published our apps on Splunk, both the data connector and the dashboarding app, which is very much like CAS's console. So you don't have the two console problem. You don't have to go to both CAS as well as the SIM tool. You can start your day-to-day threat hunting on your SIM tools as well. Same thing with Microsoft Sentinel. We have given this workbook. It's published on Azure. You can just search the workbook, connector, get the data, get the filters, get the query, and start your threat hunting there. So this is in a nutshell our approach. Again, we've been completely focused on three key themes: more insights and aggregated data for you on security side, more automation like templates, like actions which you can take, and then more integrations for you, wherein we not only provide those integrations to SIMs and SOARs, but also for data handoff. Next slide, please. This one provides you a quick summary because Vijay and I are twin brothers, so we have to have twin slides. Here's a summary of all the value add that we have for Workspace. I'll take some questions if there are any, or perhaps I would love to have our customer on call, Kent, who's from Albertslund Kommune, and speak some more. Peter and Kent, over to you.
Thank you, Abhinava, and a great presentation. I mean, we're rushing through a lot of content here, but to me, this is also just to provide you some more insight for further kind of conversation. I think analytics is just one of those products that we haven't talked enough about, because the combination of us enabling the application and the data to be hosted and run and managed in a place where it makes sense, and then we adding this part so that we can also keep monitoring the information security even though we enable all this kind of flexible work style and deliver stuff. I mean, a lot what you've seen also works even in environments where we are not having agents on the endpoint or managing the network and so forth, because a lot of this is built into the Workspace app and our other type of solutions. So super nice. And there is no direct questions at the moment, but let's see if there's anything more. I'll turn the page over to you, Kent. I know we spoke a little bit before. I know Albertslund, at least in Denmark, in Citrix world, you've been I would say a thought leader, but you've been early on adopting the Citrix Cloud solution. You run a lot of your workloads in Azure. In addition to that, using analytics to, I think the phrase you mentioned was, analytics is our anti-frustration tool. I think that's what you do. But you are
exactly
not a big team. I mean, you have over 30,000 people in your municipality. You have 4,000 employees. You have over 150 applications, and you only have a handful of people that run this complete implementation. So hands down, I think you're running a tight ship. And thanks for joining to talk about us today here. So over to you, Ken.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Yeah, I do have good people. So you can't do it yourself. So you need good people to do it. Yeah, Albertslund has been on a cloud journey. Started about 5 years ago when we have had some difficulties with our infrastructure and decided to go the cloud way. And today we are all fully clouded. We haven't got any servers on site, and all is in Azure, and running Citrix on top of that as well. And we needed some kind of tools to be able to track and monitor what's going on during this process. And specifically, just before Corona hit us, we were looking at analytics and what it could do. And everything that Vijay has talked about, we are practically using today, and it's giving us a great insight to what is going on at the moment. I'm one of the people that I think Abhinava talked about who likes to see pictures, and so I daily log into analytics to see how the state of the union is in terms of Citrix and how it's going. And it gives me great comfort to see that it's running smoothly. The slide you're having on now is showing that only 2 users are having poor experience. It hasn't always been that, I can assure you. But it's nice to see that we were able to track down what difficulties caused those poor usage experiences, so that we were able to root it out and give people the experience that we'd like to give them. So in terms of being,
sorry, I must interrupt you, because hands down, if you have 645 total users with 623 on excellent, that's not always what I've seen when we've done POCs on this. Far from it, by the way. So it's a great. I mean, if you say you worked on user experience, I think that's probably one of the best diversion I've seen, because this is one of those slides I used to look at when we do these POCs, and it used to be much more on the fair and the poor side. Anyway,
I told you I had good people, didn't I?
Yeah, you're right.
And we also have some excellent partners to help us. Connector is a Citrix partner who has been on the journey with us all the way, and that kind of partnership is really important to establish when you move into the world of clouding. So only Connector knows us better than we do. So that's really important. But those figures are accurate, and I can show you even better figures with more unit on, but there's still a very few poor experiences. But during Corona and before we had that few bad experiences, it was a great help for us to see where the problems lay. People sitting at home and they're calling our support and saying, hey, we have a bad experience, Citrix won't start. And our support can backtrace and say, oh, it hasn't got anything to do with Citrix. Everybody's on Citrix, but it's your own hotspot in your own home that is causing you the issue. Try and turn it off and on, and let's try it again. So the ability to service people better all the way from where they are sitting through to Citrix makes the dialogue about what's wrong much more fact-based. And that's what I'm using Performance to do. I also have quarterly meetings with all leaders, and if there are any issues, I just pull up the fact sheet and says, "Hey, this is reality. What you're talking about is feelings. Let's talk about realities here, because I've got a fact here." So it makes my platform very much better, and the dialogue is to find out what goes wrong, not that it's only Citrix isn't working right.
Yeah.
So normally it isn't Citrix that causes the issue. So, but everything else. So
no, in the old days, you used to say protocol driver 12 back in the days with no feedback, right? So in this case, I just want to mention also, because I spoke to Abhinava about this before, it says factor timeline on this graph, and I think this is an interesting piece as well, because to your point, when people working from home and there's no agent on the device or the network, it's hard to really understand what is the requirement. But with the timeline and the fact that we can actually distinguish to say your first hop, like your local router is Wi-Fi and your local internet speed is this. In fact, we can even track the strengths of the Wi-Fi signal, because if the person started at the kitchen table, but then moved to the basement and then called Citrix or called you guys and complained, you can actually go and see when in time things went bad. So you actually can have a conversation. And I think this is a super nice feature, because I know a lot of these Citrix is the problem kind of conversation. Network says okay, storage says okay, and the user is complaining. So that is a common thing I've known from through the years, right?
Exactly. That makes the conversation and the load on our support much easier. So, and people do understand it when they are told. And I'm also planning to show those figures here on our own internal website, so that people can see what it looks like. And you know, instead of calling support right away, they can take a look at our website and see, oh, Citrix is running smoothly, nobody is having any issues. Well, I might check my own device before I call support. So it's also a kind of cultural tool for our users as well. So it's and it's making it's making me more calm, because when I look into when I log into the analytics dashboard in the morning, I can see how it goes, and I can as I told you before, backtrace what's happening. Also, every month we have a service window where everything is closing down, you know, and everybody knows that, but people still try to log on. So when they're calling support, we can also see who is calling support and when they're calling support. So it's a good kind of documentation tool as well. And there's been a lot of developments in the past year on this product that I really enjoy, as Vijay talked about. So I think that the value of analytics is rising still.
Yeah, I mean, that's the benefit also with the cloud service, that we can quicker adopt it. And I think I use this example as well. I asked you to show a few screenshots from the real life. So in this case also, that this is like a custom report, very detailed, but you can just keep clicking and you have your filter on the left side. So you're only looking what you really like to look at, but then you can go into this very detailed to actually look at the endpoint, operating system, the you know, the logon times, the which connector it went through, which gateway, and so forth. So that to me is also, I mean, all those columns is also customizable. You can go in and change and add them. So I think that's the trick for me as well, that you have the nice over experienced reports for management, but then you can tick, go very deep and pinpoint them in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also see how much load there are on each server as well. And And you can, we start and stop servers dynamically through the entire day and night, according to how much usage there are. And this gives me the opportunity to see, well, how many servers do we have running right now? And it's a cost issue as well, because we are able to customize the usage and the servers available at a certain time according to the load, and be a little bit ahead of a usage, so that people still have a good experience, but we have a fairly good cost as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you're running most of your VMs in Azure, so you're essentially paying per minute, right? So that's the difference also, that you don't want to have more machines running than needed for your still maintaining your SLA. So it's kind of that balance that.
Exactly. Actually, we are very cost effective as well. I wouldn't be able to run this if I had servers in the basement at that cost we are doing right now. So so analytics helps us with that too.
Cool. If somebody says, "Hey, I'm interested to try this out," I mean, we as a vendor says it's just a tick box, right? So from your view, I know you work with Connecto, and it's a long-standing, really skilled partner. In fact, they were global partner of the year last year, I think it was. What's your feedback? How long does it take to kind of get this working? What's your feedback on that? To try
Super
this
simple.
first.
Super simple. It was very quickly installed, and I only have one button to hit, and then analytics starts up on my dashboard. So very simple and very swift installation. No problems.
I would not have asked you otherwise.
No, I guess not. But it's actually true as well,
Yeah. No, and to your point, I mean, I run a pre-sale team, right? And one of the part is the POC can sometimes with Citrix be quite comprehensive, because there's servers and there's opening ports and this and that, but it's an outgoing port, and you were on a reasonably modern platform to start with. But even if your customer is on-prem, to Vijay's point, that we do have support for fully on-prem. I think you have to be on kind of LTSR 1912 or something, so reasonably new. But it's really the port opening outbound that is the trick, and then obviously what everyone has to do is to review the GDPR statement. There's a lot of documentation on our website in terms of how and where data is being stored and how it's managed. But all good. All right, Ken. So that's super nice. And I think that was kind of the last slide. Do you have anything else you wanted to kind of add on this?
Well, don't be afraid to use it. I think that it's great value actually, and we have been looking at some other products as well, and we ended up with this, and I'm happy at the moment. Yeah.
Very good. No, you're right. I mean, it's our solution. We're monitoring our solution, and I think that's where we can obviously get the benefit. The old days, there used to be databases and web servers and this and that to actually get something. But really what you talk about, the fast innovation that we've done, I think of all the products at Citrix, this one has been the fastest, because a year ago, we did not have the same level of reports, the same level of detail, especially like the last mileage, like we can even say the ISP vendor and signal strengths and latency and stuff like that, because that's, especially when working from home, that's been something often been discussed. All right, Ken. Well, again, thank you very much for the positive note. You're definitely a beachhead for a Citrix solution. It was funny. I think if it was yourself or whoever joined many years ago to say, hey, we at Albertslund is not going to be operating servers, we're going to be citizen serving. So there was this focus around serving the community. And I think if you do that with 4 people for 3,000 users and 150 application, I don't think there's too many people that are beating that factor. So, all good.
That's right.
All good. Cool, Kent. I wanted to move on and wrap this up with another aspect, which is on that a little bit on the endpoint versioning and stuff like that with CVA. So Neil, you've been working also not only on mid-size, but also some of the really biggest Citrix accounts in the Northern Europe, especially also with some of the analytics folks. I just wanted you to wrap this up and provide a little bit of insight from your end.
Sure, thanks, Peter. I think one thing that I'd comment on is from all of the presentations so far, really. I think, and it's fairly subtle, but often is called out, and it was called out by a customer of mine, was that the analytics platform looks from outside in. So we're looking from the user experience or the user's activity into the environment. A lot of monitoring and alerting toolings will look from inside out. And it gives you a different perspective on what you're looking at from that user experience, that user security perspective, when you look at it from that view in. And then when you're troubleshooting, you're going from the user experience into the environment. Because oftentimes I've walked into operations rooms for customers, and you go into their IT operations rooms, and there'll be a whole dashboard of red alerts, and you see that, and you walk in, and you know, I've oftentimes asked customers, say, well, why is that red? Why is it all red? And it's always red. We don't really, we just leave it as is. We don't really do anything about it. Whereas from the analytics point of view, what we're looking at here is if there is a red alert, or if there's a poor user experience, we can see that clearly and then start drilling into what's causing that experience. And oftentimes, a server might be offline, but it doesn't have an impact on the user experience. So we don't really spend time troubleshooting that. So I think that's a good point. Quite, an interesting point. I used the jigsaw puzzle picture before. That's okay. I think oftentimes when you're troubleshooting, it's finding out the solution. It's finding out where the problems exist within the environment, as Kent clearly sort of talked about, having that visibility. And if you try and complete a jigsaw puzzle without the picture, it's very difficult. If you only got part of the picture to try and fix that jigsaw puzzle, people do it, but it becomes challenging, and we want that speed. So we need to ask the right questions. So yeah, if you go on to the next, and often, we get the Citrix is slow, it's laggy, unresponsive type sessions from the users, and they kind of comment that it's slow, laggy. And normally, with a global customer that I was working with on this, they had a large number of users distributed across the globe. A high percentage of users were connecting from India into the UK with high level of latency. And you'd look at that and go, well, if I'm troubleshooting this, there's latency. There's going to be latency because of the distances involved. And there's not a great deal we can do about that distance involved. But however, when we start drilling into it, if we go on to the next slide, we look at the session responsiveness, and we can see here that we've got 145 users are experiencing poor session responsiveness. And we drill into that again a little bit further, so we can actually drill down. I think there was a question on how far we can drill down, but we can see here, and I've actually had to blank some information out of here because this is a real customer's information, so there are some blanks. But this is one user. We're looking at their session experience, and what we're seeing here is a couple of things that kind of jump out. So when the user experience and the session responsiveness is poor, we see that they're on version 14.12 of Workspace app. They're using a delivery group, which is DG01, and they're using an internal gateway. When the user experience is better, they're on Workspace app version 21.8. They're on a different delivery group, and we can see that they're coming in from a gateway which is based in India. So we can start seeing here that, okay, the user is in the same location, but the user experience is different depending on some of these criteria. So from a troubleshooting and putting the jigsaw together, we can start saying, well, okay, first thing I'd look at is get the user to upgrade their Workspace app version on all devices they connect from, because there have been some advancements in the latest versions of Workspace app. We can then start making sure that if there's problems on the delivery group, and then we can look at the gateway routing as a last example. And I think we start pinpointing and we start putting that jigsaw together from the visibility we have here.
Yeah, I think you had the last one was also this, to actually show you the difference from just the versioning of the CVAD client, right?
So exactly. So we can see here quite clearly that predominantly time the user or the users with an earlier versions of Workspace app or receiver are getting a worse experience than those on the later version. The sample's a little bit smaller, but you can see that most users or all users on the 21.8 version are getting a fair or excellent user experience. And it's just a very short example of where we showed this to the customer, that we can start identifying potential areas that we can start to troubleshoot, start putting that jigsaw together. And that would have been very difficult without analytics to help us.
Yeah.
So Neil and Peter here, there's one shameless plug for security analytics here. We also have that insight with the versions, Workspace version. And on security side, it's a vulnerable version with our RDP related vulnerability. So we uncover unsanctioned app versions for security and infra admins, because we've seen recently there were like actually hacker attacks on the old client versions. So the same Workspace information that Neil just presented and the insight pertaining to productivity also applies to security. So I thought I'd just share it with customers here and Kent as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense, Abhinava. Thank you. All right, I think we're top of the hour. I would have liked 2 hours, but I don't want to dare having too long of these sessions. I definitely think we should come back and have a similar follow-up with some more details. But for now, I think we will wrap this up. I don't see any more questions in the chat anyhow, and I want to be mindful of the time for people who might have other things to do post this time. But thank you very much, everyone, for participating, especially to you, Ken. Thanks for the positive note, and super happy that we can provide that intel so that you can have the high score you have. I think, Neil, your customer have a little bit work to do, but maybe with some more analytics, we can move them up a little bit. And I'm having a little bit of my own tracking to see this stuff, and it's interesting to see, because I think that as a Citrix community as well, we would benefit from focusing more on what Neil was saying, outside in, like how does that look for the user? Is this solution really something that people would like to use, not just have to use? And to me, that's really the world-class Citrix implementation from just a good one. So super happy with this. So with that, Abhinava, Vijay, Neil, and Ken, thank you much for joining, and hope that I can invite you back at a later time to have more conversation about this interesting area.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. The final session will be, or the next session that we will talk about is another similar topic, but more focused around networking. It will be with Andrew Scott and Justin Thurgood. The session is at the 21st of June. Please look out for this webinar, and please join if you have any interest in this. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.